Hi everyone, this is Steve from WebRockstar.net, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the Admin Code Editor plugin. Now this allows you to easily add HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to a post in a much easier way compared to trying to code inside of the built-in WordPress content editor. And you can find this plugin in the WordPress plugin directory. Now we have a sample page already built that is using Admin Code Editor. We can see we have this page here featuring an interactive calculator. We have the title here, some body text, as well as the interactive calculator right below. And as we can see, it functions just as any calculator would be expected to. Alright, so let's jump over to the back end and see exactly how this page has been built. Here we are. Here we have the page title and the body text, as you're probably already familiar with. But the calculator component is coming from the admin code editor section that is right below the main content area. As we can see here, in the HTML tab, we have all of our HTML. In the CSS tab, our CSS, and of course, in the JavaScript tab, we have our JavaScript. Now, we can see right away it's much easier to read code in these tabs because everything is appropriately color highlighted. We can expand and collapse sections of code. If we want to do any indenting, that is certainly possible as well. That's something we can't do with the standard built-in content editor. If we want to do multi-line indents, that's also possible. We have some line numbers on the side here, which can make it much easier to reference specific lines of code if we need to. And one thing that's also nice is that the code in Admin Code Editor, the WP AutoP WordPress function is not applied here. And if you've ever tried writing code in the standard WordPress content editor, you may have run into this problem where you get random paragraph tags inserted into your code, which of course will cause it to break. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what the WP AutoP function does, but if you would like to learn more about that, you can read more on the WordPress Codex. And one note I do want to make about using jQuery in your JavaScript is that the jQuery file that is being enqueued on the front end is in jQuery no conflict mode. And basically what that means is you can't use the $ symbol to reference the jQuery functions. You would have to outright, you would have to specify the jQuery string outright in order to call any jQuery functions, compared to using the $, which you may already be familiar with. But if you would like to continue to use the $, you would simply need to specify this line at the top of your code, and then from that point forward you can continue to use the $. And once again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what jQuery no conflict mode is all about, but if you would like to learn more about that, you can check out the jQuery no conflict documentation on jQuery.com. And as you may have noticed by the SCSS text next to the CSS tab, Admin Code Editor does support preprocessors as well. As of right now, Admin Code Editor supports Sass, Less, Haml, Markdown, and CoffeeScript. And in the CSS tab right now, this is actually Sass, so it's not the compiled CSS. If we do want to view the compiled version, we would simply go here and take a look at the compiled CSS output. One thing that's also handy with Admin Code Editor is that in most cases it will tell us about any compilation errors in our preprocessor code. So for example, let's just change the background of this container class to red, but I'm going to purposely not add a semicolon at the end, which of course would put an error in our code. But let's see how Admin Code Editor handles this. As expected, there is an error in our code, and Admin Code Editor has notified us about this. And it's telling us at line 9 we have the error, and of course there it is. Let's add this semicolon back in. Update. And let's flip over to the front end again and see how our calculator looks. Refresh, and there we go. The background of our calculator is now red. But before I sign off in this video, let's take a quick look at all the settings that's available to you in Admin Code Editor. To access the settings, we would simply click on the Settings button. In the General tab, we can choose what conditions must be met in order for the code to actually be shown on the front end. If we want to disable the code on any specific templates, and we can choose our preprocessor for JavaScript, and whether we want to include jQuery. For CSS, we can choose which preprocessor we want. For HTML, we can choose which preprocessor we want, as well as if we want the code to be positioned before or after the regular page content. And we can also manage the default settings. So let's take a look at the default settings page. As expected, it's the same fields as we just mentioned, but of course these are the default settings, so that the settings that will be in place when you create a post for the first time. But if you choose to modify those settings afterwards, you can do that. And we can choose which post types Admin Code Editor will be applied to, and if we don't want any specific code editors, we can hide those here. So that is a brief overview of Admin Code Editor. I hope you found this video useful and informative, and that you find the plugin useful to you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.